I see a lot of green in the audience today. Guys, Perk is here. What do you think? Yeah. Am I right? Welcome to the 60 days of summer, 60 consecutive days of family-friendly entertainment right here on center court at the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. My name is Kyle Belanger. I teach sports broadcasting at Springfield College, but that doesn't matter today. Because what matters is that you are here to meet and hear from and maybe ask a question of one of the great Boston Celtics of the in the history of the franchise. He is one of my favorite centers. For the next 25 minutes, I get to hog all the fun. Me, Perk, questions, answers. It's going to be a blast for me and you. Then I hand the fun over to you. I will ask for a handful of volunteers who want to ask Perk a question. So if you have something you might want to ask an NBA champion, a 14-year NBA vet, you may get that chance. Be ready. I'll give you a warning. I'll tell you when to raise your hand. We'll choose a handful of volunteers. After that, Kendrick Perkins will walk to that table right there on my right, your left, and sign an autograph for each and every one of you. That's a pretty good deal, right? Yeah. And as you probably know, Perk is not the end of the 60 days of summer. You can go to hoophall.com and check out all the incredible appearances we still have left. Just off the top of my head, next Monday, Taco Fall. This Friday, LaFonso Ellis. We have just a Hamidou Diallo NBA dunk champion. All of these coming up. Go to hoophall.com, click on the 60 Days of Summer tab, and check it out. I hope to see you again. But let's get to today's fun. Kendrick Perkins is a 2008 NBA champion with the Boston Celtics. His 14 years in the NBA include stops in Boston, Oklahoma City, Cleveland, and New Orleans. He's a 2003 Texas Mr. Basketball, a first-round pick in 2003 by the Memphis Grizzlies, a McDonald's All-American, and one of the game's outstanding social media personalities. If you don't follow him on Twitter, you need to follow Perk. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Kendrick Perkins. Perk, welcome back to Springfield.
Oh, thank you, Kyle. I mean, you gave me a great introduction, man. One of your best centers in Celtics history. I'm like, okay, cool.
I tell you, in my house, my kids know no other. They are big Perk fans. They're watching right now, and they are so psyched that Dad is sitting next to their favorite player.
Really?
Yeah, that's the truth.
There's a lot of Celtics that done came through. Tell your kids I appreciate it.
2008. We'll get to 2008 in a minute, but there's something about that run that I know fans of a certain age watching here today can't wait to hear about. But I want to go all the way back to Texas for you. Mm-hmm. You're born and raised in Jefferson County. Right. Born in a small town, go to high school in the big city. But there's something about Texas basketball. You look at the roster of Mr. Basketball Texas, you see names like Shaq and Kendrick Perkins. I mean, there's something about the hard-nosed, the gritty basketball that comes out of Houston and DFW. When, for you, do you start to develop the Kendrick Perkins style on the court?
Well, I think, you know, what a lot of people don't understand is that Texas is a football state. So majority of the basketball players, you know, Shaq, myself, you know, I played football. Football actually was my favorite sport growing up. So I played football. I actually played tight end and defensive end. And I started on varsity all the way to like the middle of my junior year. My basketball coach was like, oh no, it's time for you to make a decision. But I think it starts from there. I think, you know, you playing football, you get physical, you start to develop that tenacity, and it carries on to the court. And next thing I know, I'm on the basketball court with the same demeanor, just playing physical, and it carries over. And you know, Texas basketball is growing, and it has grown a lot, but it's still a football state. Yeah. But I think we learn a lot because the majority of the Texas guys, they played football growing up. Yeah. That was the first sport we was ever introduced to.
I never thought of it in that regard, but you're right. It looks it looks like I mean, if you watch, and I do because I'm a hoop nerd,
right.
You watch Texas high school basketball, it looks like football guys who are just gifted and who are learning that game and emerging, but it looks like football guys who grew up watching football. That makes so much sense.
Yes, it does. And what you have to understand, every basketball coach, they make sure that their team, that they roster have at least 2 or 3 football players. That's the only way you can win state out there. You got to have football players on your team that's rugged and ready to get down and dirty.
So when does the love for hoop show up? If you're a football guy first and you get sort of conscripted into playing on the basketball team, thank goodness you did. The Celtics are happy you did. When does the actual love for it come?
Well, I think you gotta. Sometimes you have to be pushed.
Yeah.
Sometimes what we call it, you have to have that key get put in your back. I always liked basketball, but when my high school coach started pushing, I started loving it even more. The more I started playing, the more I kept getting better. I was in the gym every day, and all of a sudden, football just went out the window, and I just started loving the game of basketball. And I started getting better at it. The next thing you know, you see scouts in the stands, you see NBA people in the stands, and people are like, hey, Perk, you tall, but you're pretty good. I'm like, all right, cool, I can work with it a little bit.
I love, so your senior year of high school, things really come together. I mean, your numbers, you're talking 27, 16, 8 blocks a game, McDonald's All-American in a pretty good McDonald's All-American game, guys like LeBron and
right.
you. At that point, for an 18, 19-year-old Kendrick Perkins, is it hard to slow the world down around you, or was it just so much fun you were just on the ride?
Well, it wasn't more so the ride. It was more so my upbringing.
Yeah.
People have to realize that, you know, my mom died when I was 5. She was shot and killed by her best friend. My dad moved to New Zealand when I was 3. So I was raised on the farm. It was just me and my grandparents. So hard work was instilled in me, and humbleness. And I was just on a mission at that time. Once I seen, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel and I started to see those doors opening, I was on a mission. And the biggest focus for me, the thing that I was doing it the most, besides the love of the game, was that I was doing it for my grandparents. You know, I know my grandmother, she had her own little cleaning service where she made like $60 a week. My grandpa cleaned up our local church. He made $300 a month. I mean, we had 1,000 chickens and ducks. You know, you're talking about 50 cattle. So, you know, I had different jobs after basketball. You know, I had to go kill chickens. I had to go pick eggs. I had to do the such and such things that, you know, country people do. You know what I mean? So yeah. It was installed in me, and my motivation, and I just wasn't gonna be stopped. My motivation was my grandparents, because at the time I was up for adoption, and when they took me in, it felt like to me that I owed the world to them. Mm-hmm. So I came in, I always had a chip on my shoulder, and then you gotta understand, back then we didn't have social media.
Right.
Well, nowadays you have social media, and I think it's a gift and a curse, because now kids, you know, get to go on social media after they do something like a highlight dunk or whatever the case may be, and get caught up in themselves. And sometimes you lose focus. You get caught up in saying, hey, I just got 1,000 followers, or I'm in high school and I'm verified, or to whatever it may be, mm-hmm. and you lose focus. Well, back then we didn't even have it. You know, laptops wasn't out. Right. I think MySpace was the first social media account, so laptops wasn't even out. So I just remember the only thing I used to do was after every AAU tournament, I used to hurry up and go home. And I remember my auntie had bought me a desktop computer, just a regular computer, and I used to go in there and go on the just the rankings, because my biggest thing was that I always wanted to finish top 5 in the rankings. I really wanted to be number 1, but it was hard to beat LeBron James, so I faced reality on that one. But that's pretty much how it is.
Kendrick, you accomplished the goal. I mean, you were in your recruiting class, the number 3 center. I mean, you were right up there, and your recruitment was really fun to watch. And then you make the decision in a class full of legendary decisions to forego college and go right to the draft. Obviously, we know how it ends. It ends beautifully. It ends with you basically going to the finals every year of your career, essentially.
Right.
In those moments, though, talking with your grandparents, talking with your friends, was that a harder decision than any of us could ever imagine?
You know what? It kind of was, but it wasn't. Because, you know, like from my sophomore year, junior year, my senior year, it was like my games were starting, and then all of a sudden you'll see, like, I would look over to the right and I was like, dang, I got the Washington Wizards and Chicago Bulls at my game. So once I started seeing that, I was like, oh, it's right there. It's right there for me to get. But, you know, I just made sure I did all the hard work. I sacrificed a lot. You know, I missed a lot of things as a childhood. I didn't go to my, you know, senior skip day. I didn't do senior trips. I was actually working out. And, you know, I didn't play video games. You know, I didn't have a basketball goal at my house. So once I left the gym, I was so caught up in the moment. And growing up, my favorite center was Elijah Warren. And so where I grew up at, we used to have this one power line that used to hang on our street, right? And it was the one power line that the city just never wanted to fix it. So it just hung low, right? But right there was a street light. And I would just be literally, that would be my basketball goal.
Really?
So I would be out there just dribbling, hard out, sweating, finger rolling, doing fadeaways. And like I was really in the zone, thinking that I was, you know, Magic Johnson. I'm thinking I was Michael Jordan mixed with Elijah Warren. When in reality, I wasn't none of them. But in my mind, I was great.
Doing the dream shake on the light pole.
And it's crazy because it's crazy how the draft process worked. I mean, you start getting overwhelmed for us with all the letters that's coming in and, you know, things like that from different colleges. You see Calipari coming in to, you know, Coach K, and at the time UNC it was Matt Doherty, Rick Barnes, and they coming in, they highly recruiting you, and it's like, man, I just got to get to the league.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening was that what I did was that I signed with Memphis to start my senior year just to stop all the college letters, right?
Right.
So, and then, you know, after the season went on, my senior year, whatever the case may be, we finished out. And I only worked out for 4 teams, right? So I worked out for Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and my last team that I worked out for was the Celtics. So I flew in on a Thursday. No, actually I flew in on a Wednesday. I had a workout on the Thursday against, you remember Brian Cook?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So, yeah, he was the player of the year that year. So I was just, you know, I just had it on my mind. I was like, oh man, he's so light, I'm gonna kill him as soon as I get in the gym. So the workouts get to start, and it was just him and I in the gym. And like in the Celtics old practice facility, they used to have like this stage up there. So I'm look up and I see Danny Ainge. So I'm like, oh, I gotta go to work, right? So I go to work. Next thing I know, they call me in the meeting and they like, you know what? We need you to stay another day. We want to work you out again. So I'm like, if you need me to stay a week, I'm cool with that too. So end up, to make a long story short, I stayed another day. I killed the workout. They ran me through a test where, you know, they talked to me about my upbringing, you know, because they want to know you as a person. You know, before a team or an NBA team want to invest millions of dollars into a basketball player, they want to check your background. They want to do everything to that nature. And I got home, and the draft was coming up, and Danny told me, don't work out for nobody else. We're going to take you. And I was like, yes. And I remember I got drafted. I spent about, maybe after the draft, I went to summer league. I went home for like 3 weeks, and I was so excited that I actually drove my truck to Boston. I packed all my stuff up and drove my truck to Boston, 31 hours.
That's remarkable.
That's how excited I was. So I remember that like it was yesterday.
That is so cool. I wonder, because your career, your Celtics career is remarkable. It spans, I don't think there is anyone, it's you and Paul, essentially, who span the early, well, sort of the late Antoine, Ricky Davis,
right.
Paul Pierce, Kendrick Perkins, go through some lean times, and then obviously to the 2008, 2009, 2010 Celtics.
Right.
But I want to talk about your first day in the locker room, because you are essentially fresh out of high school. You were in the Boston Celtics locker room, and there are some personalities in that locker room. Was there one guy who helped make sure that Kendrick Perkins wasn't on an island, or is sort of the Kendrick Perkins nature just to shoulder it and do it yourself?
Well, I was open. I came in with a humble attitude. So all my vets, they were like, man, we love this rookie. You know, I was making sure I was there early. I was really overweight, so I was in the gym extra early. I stayed late, and I had a great group of vets. Like when I came in, I had Tony Delk. You know, I think right before I came in, the team had just went to the Eastern Conference Finals against the New Jersey Nets. So I had Tony Delk, Tony Battie, Walter McCarty, you know, Antoine Walker. So I had a great group of guys that was around me. But, you know, a lot of people don't know, the guy who taught me the ropes, who took me under his wing, was Walter McCarty.
Was it?
Yeah, and I say this to this day. He took me to the wing. Walt was probably one of the best teammates I ever had in my NBA career.
Man, so the whole Tommy Heinsohn, I love Walter thing.
It's true.
It's true. We love Walter.
It's true. If you don't like Walter, you don't like yourself.
I love that. That needs to be a T-shirt. Yeah. So when things finally start rolling for you, your rookie year is one of learning. Right. You have some flashes. But then things really start to come together for you. Talk to me about the moment you realize not only did you make it, but you are an NBA guy.
Well, you know what? I think Jim O'Brien helped me a lot his first year because he was just, you know, he was old school, so he was straightforward. It was more so like, hey, listen, you need to get your fat butt in shape or we'll cut you tomorrow. So I was like, dang, it's really like that in here? So I was like, let me get on the grind. And then all of a sudden, we hired Doc Rivers. Well, Doc Rivers instantly became a father figure, mentor to me in every part of life. And I remember he called me in his office one day, and he was like, Perk, listen, be who you are. Be who you are, and you can have a 15-year career in this league. Just doing what you do. Don't try to do nothing extra. Just be who you are, whether that's setting screens, rolling to the basket, rebounding, finishing around the basket, blocking shots. Be who you are. Be that aggressive, post defense, be a defensive anchor. And it helped me because I'm a guy that I never made an all-star team. I never made an all-defensive team. I never made any of those I never have any of those accolades, but I had a 15-year career as a role player. And to a lot of kids out there that's growing up that want to be NBA players, you don't have to be a superstar to have a long NBA career. You just got to be a star in your role. Everybody's not going to be a LeBron James. Everybody's not going to be a Steph Curry, Paul Pierce, or Kevin Garnett. So you have to find who you are and be good at it and accept your role. And I think that helped me a lot to the point where it was just like I just took off. But I remember one game we played against the Pistons. This was my first preseason game. And I remember I had to go up against Ben Wallace, and I ain't gonna lie, I was kind of nervous. I was like, man, Big Ben? And Jim O'Brien came in, and he was like, you're starting tonight. And I was like, who, me? I was thinking maybe coming off the bench, getting my feet wet a little bit, but I just remember Paul had came in, he drove to the lane, and he hit me with a pass, and I just went up and dunked on him and it was, what's the big Elton Campbell.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So I went up and dunked on both of them. I just yelled and screamed, and I think I played like 15 minutes, and I had like 8 points and 8 rebounds. So as a youngster, I go back and watch the whole film, and then I hear Tommy Heinz, and he's like, "Oh, he's a Celtic. He got what he needs." So after that, I just took that and just kept rolling, and that kept pushing me just to keep getting better.
So you mentioned a little bit about Paul and Kevin. So I want to talk about the 2007 draft now. Your draft is 2003, opens the door for you and the Celtics for that long relationship. 2007 draft night, though, also means a lot to Celtic fans because that's the night that, obviously, Ray Allen gets traded to the Celtics. Big Baby comes to the Celtics. The Kevin Garnett signing is in the works. Talk to me as a player about what that night was like, watching all the pieces start to line up for you.
Well, it was crazy because I was still kind of young. So, and it's crazy because now me and KG are best friends. Like, literally, we talk every day. But before he got on the Celtics, we hated each other.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking about, nose to nose, hey, man, listen, I had to call Paul, he had to call Paul and was like, hey, man, how we gonna make this work, man? Me and Perk got this beef, or whatever the case may be, and it was like, I'm gonna get to that story in a minute, but to be honest, I was really hurt at that time.
Were you?
Yeah, I didn't see the bigger picture. I didn't see the championship, forming. I was hurt because I was close friends with Al Jefferson. Al Jefferson is a godfather of one of my children.
Oh.
So, I was close friends with him. So it was a bittersweet moment for me because I thought me and Big Al I thought we was on the rise to develop something special because, he was a beast at the time.
Absolutely.
But, once it all unfolded and I got to training camp, it was like, man, I'm looking over here, I'm like, it's Ray Allen. I'm used to watching him on He Got Game. So I'm like, man, I'm looking at KG, he in his seat. So, out of all the people, everybody else had their regular locker chair, but KG had a big old massage chair at his locker that he put in. So he's sitting down, he's sitting in there, with his head down. So I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna break the ice. So I go over there. I'm like, what's up, big fella, man? Man, so happy to see you here. He was like, word, man, word, let's do this. And it was short. It was just short, just like that, kept it moving. So, we didn't have practice. We went to Rome and London, which I think was the best thing that happened for us because it forced us to hang out with each other. There wasn't no TVs in our room. So every night we had dinner together after practice. And I just remember our first day at practice, our practice used to be so intense because our second unit thought they were better than our first unit.
Yeah.
Like, Eddie House, James Posey. So it was a lot of noise talking going on. So, me and KG get to going at it with them, and all of a sudden, from there, it just clicked. Like, man, KG was like, I'm going to war with you. And then I remember we played the Raptors because we had to be in Italy because Bayani was the first pick. And I remember KG was just so serious. And I was like, bro, it's preseason. And he just had it on his mind like, now I'm about to go kill this, excuse my language, MFer. I'm about to go kill him. I'm like, I'm right here with you. So we go out there because it was Chris Bosh, so we go out there and do work. And ever since then, man, we just kind of, me and Ticket been we just brothers for life.
See, Texas and South Carolina can work together.
Yeah,
this is something that I learned. This is the takeaway. Now, that 2007 team has been talked about, written about, dissected. People who covered you, people who didn't cover you, players have talked about it a million times. Is there one part of that team that you wish more people knew about? Is there something about that team that not enough people know, they just gloss over it?
Like, we was a real family.
Yeah.
Like, everywhere we went, we all was together. I'm talking about, I don't care if it was the 15th man on the roster, we was together. We was a real family. And I know everybody, talk about this Ray Allen situation, but you know, I think time heals wounds.
Sure.
You know, me personally, I'm still cool with Ray. And the biggest problem I'm having right now, which I'm gonna end up being the middleman in this and getting it all back together,
Good.
is that KG and Rondo, I love them to death, but they are so stubborn and caught. They're so stubborn and caught in their ways. They're like, man, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm like, listen, man, we're not about to keep doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Ray was a crucial part of our team. He was our family. You know, we didn't went over there. We didn't did Halloweens at Ray House. We didn't watch boxing at Ray House. We didn't have cookouts at Ray House. Like, we're not gonna keep doing this.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think time heals wounds, because all of a sudden him and Paul get back connected. It's gonna take me a while to work on Rondo and KG though. But I think so much about just that whole run, and you know, it's crazy because I never really think about the championship that we won. I think about the 2 championships that we should have won. The year KG was hurt, the year that I got hurt, because we would have easily won 3 in a row.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's neither here or there, but it was just a family, man. And, you know, to be honest, a lot of people don't even know, we had fights. Like, fist fights. Our practice was so serious, it was fights. And I'm looking up at Danny like, you know, it happens all the time. You got to do it. You got to do it. Ain't nothing but tough love, Perk. So it was like, wow. And but it turned out for the best, because that's how much guys wanted it.
But that's family, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. You can mix it up, but at the end of the day, we're doing this together.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm learning that now because I'm the only child, but I got 4 kids, and my 12-year-old and 8-year-old, you know, it's a fight every day about something. So I'm just figuring out that brothers just go fight.
Yeah. But don't let anyone say anything bad about them outside the family, because they'll both be on that, right?
Oh, yeah, they go jumping, for sure.
No, I only have 3 questions left for Kendrick Perkins, so now's the time for you to start thinking, have I forgotten to ask something that you want to ask? Do you want my job? There'd be a chance for you to get it. So in a couple minutes, I'm going to ask for volunteers. My friends will come from the hoop hall. We'll come and put you in a line to my right, your left. Now, last week we had Glenn Davis sitting in that very seat.
Who, Big Baby?
Big Baby was sitting right there last week.
Oh, Lord.
And he was, that's the proper response when you bring up Glenn's name, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. He was talking about that day in 2011 when you get shipped to Oklahoma City.
Right.
And he mentioned that it was really emotional for him. He took it really hard. He said he might have even shed a tear or 2, because that was a moment where he realized that there was something special that was coming to an end. In that moment, you had become an icon in Boston. You had been to 3 finals, won 1. How did Kendrick Perkins receive that news? And did it take a while for that taste to change in your mouth?
Well, you know, it's crazy because this is all I knew. For 8.5 years, I moved out here when I was 18 years old. And for 8.5 years, literally, I spent summers in Boston where I didn't even go back home. You know, I always tell people, you know, and I didn't play in other great organizations, but nothing compares to the city of Boston. And the reason being is because like the New England area, the fans around here, they're different type of fans. Like, you know, you have your typical fans who look at rebounds, who look at points, who look at all the things that show up on stat sheets, but you turn on the radio in the morning, and when you hear fans calling in, they talk about the little things. They talk about the screen setting. They talk about how guys miss defensive assignments. And I was sitting up here like, wow, I'm amazed by that. But since I got here, like, the city embraced me with open arms, and it was hard. It was hard leaving. I didn't know what to expect. In my opinion, I thought I was going to retire as Celtic. But, you know, it was just hard when you had to say the goodbyes. You had to, because we was on the road. You know, I got to go knock on KG door and tell them, man, hey, man, I'm out. But this don't change nothing. Or I got to go knock on Doc Rivers' door, to Eddie, to Ray, to Paul, and it's just like, this your brothers. But I expected the trade to happen.
Did you?
Yeah, I did, because in fairness, you know, I see a lot of stuff on Twitter where they say, well, Danny made the worst move ever by trading me. But to be honest, Danny really had no choice but to trade me. And what people don't know, what happened behind the scenes is that, you know, at the time I'm 26, 27 years old, and I was coming up, because as a starting center, I was making like $4 million a year, which is great money, don't get it wrong.
Sure.
But as a starting center, the average center was making between $9 and $12 million a year. And of course, with the big three and everybody else, Boston didn't have the money to pay me. You know, they had just paid Rondo, so they didn't have the money to pay me. And Danny actually, this was like 2 months before, he actually called me in his office. Me and him sat down one-on-one, and he was like, Perk, look, I know you work more, but I got this deal on the table that's for another $5 million for another 4 years. And I'm like, well, Danny, I don't know if I could really, you know, everybody pretty much got their big deal. So, I mean, I'm coming up for free agency, you know, and I can't do it. You know, as much as I wanted to, I had to make sure, though I had to secure my future financially. So it wasn't nothing personal, and he knew it. So when the trade happened, it didn't surprise me. And then I applaud Danny, because he could have sent me anywhere. But he sent me to Oklahoma City, which was great for me, because before I even played a game, they gave me a 4-year, $40 million contract extension, right? Yep. And then I'm going to this young team that's, you know, with Russell Westbrook, that's growing, and Danny actually did right by me, and he sent me to an organization that wanted me, that needed me, and he knew that was gonna pay me. And I applaud Danny for that. And he took a lot of heat, and he never commented or never even aired our conversation out, but it hurted like hell to leave Boston. Seriously, I mean, like, I still come back here once a month. You know, my favorite restaurant is Strager's. It's an Italian spot, yes. So, I mean, you know, it's just, it's forever family. And it didn't go away, it didn't go as planned, but I retired this past season, and I actually wanted to retire as a Celtic, but due to Danny's medical situation, we couldn't get things done. Right. And I wanted to hurry up and start my next chapter in my life for us with the TV analysts and stuff like that. So I just, you know, I just went about it a different way. But anybody could tell you, to this day, if I have to sign an autograph, it's Kendrick Perkins, number 43, 08 champs.
I got to tell you something. There's a lot of people here who still think of you, who, as far as they're concerned, you did retire a Celtic. And that's, I mean, honestly, I'm right? This is a Celtic center. And I know that people want to ask questions. I'm going to get to them in a second. You go to the finals with OKC. You go to the finals with Cleveland. You go to 3 finals with the Celtics. Is that the greatest part of your legacy, in your opinion? Is a guy who just wins, plays hard, and wins down the stretch and wins when it matters? That's what Kendrick Perkins' legacy is, right?
Well, you know, we have this thing. You have these things. Well, I look at a guy like Derek Fisher. You know, Derek Fisher is the worst point guard in the regular season. I mean, he's horrible. The regular season, he's the worst, and all of a sudden the playoffs start, and then we talking about him being a top 5 player. So you have guys that just want to play to have their individual accolades. So you have guys that you'll see it. They'll ball out, average 30 points all the way up to the All-Star break, and then all of a sudden you're like, what is this same player? Because winning is not on their mind, individual goals. The only thing that ever said with me was winning championships. I think it was installed in me as a youngster and in high school, because, you know, my high school team, we won 106 games, in 3 years, and we only lost 3. And so, you know, winning was always on my mind. That's who I am. I brought to the table, I'm a winner, and that's why I want a lot of kids and a lot of future NBA players that's in here today to realize that you don't have to be a star. Like, you could just be who you are. Trust me, they'll find you.
Do you have a question for Kendrick Perkins? Put your hand in the air right now, and my friends at the Hall of Fame will come and put you in a line to my right, your left. Perk, my final question for you involves this moment right here. This is not your first time here, won't be your last, but this moment, sitting beneath the faces of some of these guys you played with, but all of the legends and the Hall of Famers that have come before, sitting in front of your fans here who've driven a distance to see you. How can you put this into perspective?
Well, you know, it's like, when you're in here, you cannot take this situation for granted. Like, it's a lot of legends that's in this building. You can't take this for granted. You know, you need to make sure you embrace this opportunity. Like, this is the Basketball Hall of Fame. This is beyond anything else. This is the Basketball Hall of Fame. There's so many greats on this wall. And, you know, it's an honor just to even be sitting in here in this Hall of Fame. And you can't take it for granted. This is a blessing. This is a blessing for me. This is a blessing for any person, any athlete that walk in here. It's a blessing. Ladies and gentlemen, Kendrick Perkins. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. You too. Now the fun keeps going. I hinted at it, but now the people to my right, your left, is going to get to ask their questions. I'll bring the first person in here. I only have 2 requests for you. One is that you let me hold the microphone while you ask your question, and the other is that you introduce yourself to Mr. Perkins. What's your name and where are you from?
Hi, my name is Marcus, and I'm from Rhode Island, Crescent, Rhode Island.
Marcus, how you doing, man? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. What's your question? My question is, what was the hardest center matchup that you ever had in your career?
The hardest center was, I caught Shaq at the end, but Yao Ming. When I played Yao Ming in Houston, I remember every time we played Yao Ming, Doc was like, Perk, you're guarding him straight up and we're not sending no help and no double team. And I was like, what? Like, are you serious? He was like 7'6", skill, could dribble, could shoot. Like, it was something that we never seen before. So Yao Ming for sure was my hardest matchup.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent question. Thank you very much. All right, bring the next one in. That was a great question, buddy.
That was.
How are you, sir? What's your name and where are you from?
Adam.
Adam, nice to meet you, Adam.
Nice to meet you too. I'm from Pennsylvania. And who's your favorite basketball player that you played with throughout your whole career?
My favorite basketball player is Kevin Garnett. You want me to tell you why?
Yeah.
He's the most, besides his talent, he's the most unselfish guy, most unselfish human being that you could ever be around, right? So I'm gonna give you a story real quick. So Kevin Garnett, before the season started, we used to have a whole lot of interns that used to come in and they was like, you know, trying to make their way into the coaching. They wasn't making money at all. And you know what Kevin, he would take all 10 of those guys, he would call in his tailor, and he would get each guy 5 suits tailor-made. And guess what? When we won the championship, let me tell you what he done. Everybody that worked around the arena, all the people who did the behind-the-scenes work, he brought them Rolex watches.
Wow.
The most unselfish guy on and off the court. On the court, you know what he came to the team and said? This is Paul and Ray team. I'm gonna take a back seat. If y'all need me, I'm here, but this is y'all team. So that's why he's the best teammate I ever had.
Cool.
Thanks for asking that question. Good job, buddy. I love those KG stories never get old to me.
No, never.
They don't.
And he's the coolest guy in the world.
My name's Connor. I'm from Ohio.
Connor, how you doing, man? I see you got your Cavs hat on.
What was it like to play with LeBron James?
Well, I've been knowing Bron because me and LeBron is in the same class. We actually played on the same AAU team for 2 years. So I've been knowing LeBron for about 22 years now.
Yeah.
So he's been great since then. Playing with him, I haven't seen a guy like him ever in life. And I done been around some guys that work hard, but he's a guy that he goes to a commercial at 4 in the morning, leave a commercial, workout, treatment, goes to another commercial, come to practice full term, leave and go do something else, go work out again, treatment around the clock. He spends $2 million a year just on his body and his health. And I never seen a guy like that for as taking his professional to that level, his professional, and LeBron is just great. And I tell him all the time, I call him and tell him, he's just the chosen one.
Thanks, Connor. Travel safely back to Ohio. OH.
Uh-oh.
Hey, bud. Oh,
what's going on, man? How you doing? Nice to meet you.
what's your name, bud?
My name's Cooper, and I'm from Rutland.
How you doing, Cooper?
How was it to play on a championship team with all the greats that play on the Celtics, just like you?
Well, it was great. It was the best experience of my basketball life. I mean, like, it was unbelievable. The thing I remember so much is that parade. Like, it stands out. Forget the visit to the White House, right? That was cool and whatever, but the parade was so crazy. Like, I still dream about that to this day and wish that I could go back and they'll do a whole nother parade for us like every 10 years, because that's how awesome it was. But it was the best time of my NBA life, on and off the court. We had so much fun off the court, and we won, and it was just great. Like, everything about it just give me chills thinking about it.
Thank you.
No
Thanks,
problem.
Coop. How are you?
Let me guess your
I'm
name.
Jaden
I already
from-
knew it. It's on your shirt. What's up, Jade? How you
I'm
doing?
Medford. What was your favorite memory with the Celtics?
It's a good one. You know what? Besides meeting Red Auerbach when I first got to the Celtics, which was great, my other favorite memory was, I remember I seen Bill Russell and I was like, they say Bill Russell don't sign autographs, but I'm going to try him. So I go up to him, I'm like, hey, Bill, Mr. Bill Russell. He like, Perk, don't call me that. I was like, look, I know you don't sign autographs with people, but listen, I'm not letting you walk out the door until you sign one. And he actually signed a basketball for me, so that was my favorite memory of all time.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. We're bringing in the closer, Perk.
Okay.
Bringing in the closer. Hi, Katie.
Hi, I'm Katie Holmes from Springfield, Mass.
Hey, Kate, how you doing?
I'm good. And I was wondering, you came right out of high school into the NBA, so
Right.
what do you think about the one and done?
Well, this is my take on it. What a lot of people don't understand is to some people, basketball is a hobby, but the NBA is a job. It's just like anybody else going to their job every day. You go to work to get paid. So if you was in college or whatever the case may be, or if you could have came out of high school and started your career early, why not? I feel like that's a dumb rule. Guys, you know, if you could start early in your career and start, you know, getting ahead of the game and come in and making good money and starting what you were going to college to do, why not? I feel like you shouldn't be held back, or you shouldn't be a requirement to go to college. Like, because a lot of guys that went to college, they didn't benefit from it anyway. You have a few guys that went back and got their degrees, but a lot of guys didn't. So in my opinion, I think it should be, listen, if you're ready to come out of high school, come out of high school. I mean, because it don't help the college players. The college coaches getting paid all the money. Just take Zion Williamson this year. Like, he could have really had a devastating injury that would have cost him millions of dollars. And it's not like he's getting paid to do it, so why not start your career early? This is your job, this is work, why not? So I don't think we should be held back from that. That's why you see a lot of people going overseas, and you know, you rather go overseas and get paid for $1 million overseas, right? For doing something that you love, but it's a job, and then come back and go to the NBA.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Katie. Ladies and gentlemen, one last round of applause for our new best friend, Kendrick Perkins.
Kyle, thank you. You were great, man. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Now